Yeah, I don't think I can be as inspiring as Cullum was there about his, but I am going to give it a go. So my name is Zarah, and I know NPWS has been mentioned a few times here today, so I'm happy to get up and give you a quick chat over our role in communities and peatlands. So we administer the Peatlands and Natura Community Engagement Scheme is what it's called now. So it was developed to grant funds for a broad range of projects to support the conservation and revitalisation of peatlands and then subsequently then Natura 2000 sites and other habitats. So the Peatlands and Natura Community Engagement Scheme, it encourages local communities, organisations, educational institutions and other stakeholders to actively contribute to the conservation and restoration of Natura sites and peatland areas. So just going to go through a few of the different project types. This list isn't exhaustive. We don't like to pigeonhole groups because they are so innovative when it comes to projects that we don't like to point them in one direction. So we have removal of invasive species, improvements to recreational areas, maintenance works, hedge cutting, local access, road improvements, waste prevention, signage, viewing points, fire control measures, feasibility studies, research, wildlife survey measures, and conservation management plans. So what does community-centred peatlands restoration look like to us in the NPWS? So it looks like Clara Heritage Society. It looks like Streamscapes, Kilteven Tidy Towns, Garthagani Development Association, Killyconny Bog Project, Repeat, Milltown Pass Tidy Towns, Ethos, Cork Nature Network, also Abbey Lakes Bog Project. Give you your own space. I didn't want to put you into my presentation as well. And Tullamore Lions Club, of course, as well. So as you can see, I'm not in any of those pictures, and neither is NPWS. So I didn't want to make us the focus of this presentation. So I said I'd do more of a deeper dive into why our community groups are so successful at community-led peatland restoration. So I've discovered the foundations of community-centred peatland restoration are the following. I will go into these in a little bit more depth, but just a quick run through of them. So knowledge through the generations, community engagement, planning, capacity building, a sense of ownership, and sustainable management. So knowledge through the generations. It's important that they pay homage to the past traditions. I myself grew up on the bog. I cut turf. That is me. Back in the day. Most of my family memories were spent on the back of a trailer, getting shouted at for not putting turf into the bag properly, or this is also me with my donkey and baskets. So we know how important it is, how important the history of turf cutting, peatlands, is to the communities in Ireland. So we pay homage to the past traditions, and we also cannot stress enough, it's so important not to villainize the people that took part in those traditions, because it was what was done by everyone. So the importance of community engagement then. So it's important that they identify the needs. What is the need for a project? What is the need for the area? Is it restoration? Is it amenities? Is it education? Or is it awareness? Building healthy partnerships. So not everyone has the same needs, so a healthy partnership between communities and local staff, local authority officers and the government is really important, so that they can all aim towards the same project. Ensuring sustainability, so the stronger the community, the more sustainable the outcomes. And encouraging a sense of ownership. Communities coming together to have a pride and a sense of ownership in their local area drives the commitment. So the planning. Who are the stakeholders involved? The tidy towns, lion clubs, etc. Are they all agreed on a focus for the group? So we have a group that we're funding this year, and their aim was to improve the water quality, but they didn't know how to get there. So they're actually doing peatland restoration to improve their water quality, which they never would have set out to do. So their shared vision now between the local authorities, An Taisce, and this group is peatland restoration, in the hope that it's going to improve the water, but we don't care as long as the peatland's restored. Are there enough interested parties to carry through the vision? Two people can't keep something going. There needs to be more people involved. There's such momentum needed that you really need more involvement. And are there supports? So us in the NPWS, we are very active in supporting communities through their projects. We want to support them, but there are also forums like the Community Wetlands Forum out there that are available and on hand to point you in any direction for supports that you may need. Capacity building, so they're very good at this. I know that Abbey Leaks Bog project with their over 100 members is definitely good at capacity building. The training and resources. Training can be something so simple as sitting in an office with somebody and showing them how to do a presentation for something like this. It can be how to submit an invoice, how to pay an invoice. It's not necessarily always out on site with rhododendron clearance. It can be the tiniest little bit. Mentoring, so mentoring the younger people, trying to get them on board. Partnerships. So sometimes in areas there's one group, there may be two groups, they have small numbers, but if they join together, their governance can be really supportive for another group. So 2 or more can come together on a same project, and we have had that in the past. And then governance development, so successful funding opportunities are more likely to come about if you have the proper structures in place. So your treasurers, your chairperson, your accounting, everything. Communities are brilliant at fostering a sense of ownership. The communities are the custodians of the habitats that we wish to protect. Abbey Leaks Bog project is a fine example of what it can look like when a community are protecting an area for themselves, not for anyone else. They're not doing it for NPWS. Nobody's out there doing it for us, I can tell you that. They're doing it for themselves, and they're doing it for their future and their children. So the sustainable management, I do feel that this one is probably the most important, that community groups that have been successful in keeping going for a number of years, this is what they do really, really well. So they consider the entire life cycle of the project. We have had people submit applications for massive projects that they have no way of completing within the 1 year. And we've gone back to them and said, break it down. Start low, start slow. So considering the entire life cycle of the project. Preparing for changes as well. So be prepared for changes in your funding opportunities. Just because there's a fund available this year, it may not be available next year. Be ready for any structural changes that happen within your group as well. Somebody may decide to hang up their wellies and move on, and somebody else needs to step in their place. Allocate your resources carefully among the group so no one's getting too much of the burden and no one's getting burnout as well. Diversification. They diversify their funding streams. They don't rely too heavily on one funding stream, because this can be a challenge if that funding stream is no longer available and they're halfway through phase 2 of a project. And they're continuing to build their strong volunteer network. Continuing to build the pool even in its smallest capacity, as every member carry its value, even the photographers and the people doing the paperwork. So to the end, there is no community-led restoration without the communities. The Peatlands and Natura Community Engagement Scheme inception came from a community group that needed funding, and that's why the scheme was born in the first place. We started at under 100,000 of funding a year, and we're now up at 800,000 a year, and it's all been driven by communities to get us to this point. And that's it.
Hi, yeah, that was a really great presentation. I suppose I'm wondering, how do community groups connect to the funding that's available? And I think you mentioned at the start it doesn't have to be Natura designated as well. The reason I'm asking, I have a community group in Cavan that's looking for funding, and they've kind of reached a point, they got some through Law Pro. So I was just wondering, maybe they weren't aware. How do you promote it, that there's money there? How do you distribute it?
So we have our scheme widely advertised. A lot of our staff are aware of it, but we do work with Law Pro quite a lot. If they've gotten an application in and they don't feel it suits their funding stream, it'll be passed on to us. We do have quite good relationships with the local biodiversity officers and heritage officers as well. So a lot of stuff does get passed down, or they might co-fund elements of the project. But ultimately it goes out on our website, on our social media, when the scheme opens up for funding each year. So it rolls out annually, and it will usually be the end of the subsequent year that it will open up. But we've worked with a few groups in Cavan. I'm sure there's...
I think it must be, if it's through Law Pro, they would have
Yeah.
been connected, that maybe that's where they got
Yeah,
funding, I
yeah,
guess.
we've good relationships with Law Pro, and they will pass anything on if it's relevant to us, 100%. And the non-designated sites is just peatlands. So it was initially peatlands, and then we rolled it out to Natura sites, but we still like to keep it going on peatland areas, mainly for the likes of Abbey Leaks Bog. It's not designated. So you can't just say no just because it's not designated, because they've done so much.
Any more questions for Zara? Getting off lightly.
Good to go.
Thank you.